Hello boys and girls, and welcome to lesson 1-2, complex fractions and unit rates. In this lesson we will be using the term complex fraction. Real world link. Speed skating. Dana is skating laps to train for a speed skating competition. She can skate one lap in 40 seconds. Write a ratio in simplest form comparing Dana's time to her number of laps. So it's saying that she can skate 40 laps, she can skate one lap in 40 seconds. So let's put Dana's time at the top, 40 seconds, right? And her unit rate is one lap. So one lap every 40 seconds. That means for 80 seconds, it would be 2 laps, correct? So suppose Dana skates for 20 seconds. How many laps will she skate? Well, at 20 seconds, if we're cutting down the time by half, right? Let me move this up. So how many laps will she do? She will do a half a lap, correct? Half of a lap. So write the ratio of Dana's time from exercise 2 to her number of laps. Okay, Dana's time, we said 20 seconds, right? So that would be in half a lap, correct? Now this is considered a complex fraction, meaning you have a whole number, right, in one part of your fraction or your ratio, and on the other side you have a fraction, okay? So you see that it's 20 over a half a lap. Now, how could you simplify the ratio you wrote in exercise 3? Well, you would divide 20. Right, let's divide the 20 by a half. When you divide a number by a half, what ends up happening is you're actually multiplying it by 2. And I will explain that later. Okay? Well, I could actually explain it right now quickly. So if you have 20 divided by a half, right? Let's turn that 20 into a fraction. Okay, so now it's 20 over 2. Remember the rule that we keep, we change, and we flip. So what that means is the next line would look like this. Let me move it up a little bit. I'm going to write the next step, which would be keep, right? And then we change the division to multiplication, and we flip 2 over 1. Okay? And then we just multiply numerator with numerator, so it would be 20 times 2, which is 40, and 1 times 1, which is 1. Right? And 40 divided by 1 is just simply 40. So you can see that we would have our unit rate again, 40 seconds per lap. Okay? Key concept: simplify a complex fraction. Fractions like 20 over a half are called complex fractions. Complex fractions are fractions with a numerator, denominator, or both that are also fractions. Complex fractions are simplified when both the numerator and the denominator are integers or whole numbers. So let's have a look here. Okay, simplify 1/4 over 2. Okay, so that means we have to transform this 1/4 into a whole number, and whatever you do to the top you must do to the bottom. In order to transform 1/4 into a whole number, we have to actually quadruple it. We need to multiply it by 4, right? Or simply 4 over 1. And when you multiply the top with the top, you get 1 times 4 right here. 1 times 4 is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. So 4 over 4 would be 1. That would bring us up to a whole. But remember, whatever you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. So the bottom number, the 2, also needs to be multiplied by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. So that will become 1/8. Now that's my explanation. Let's look at the textbook explanation. So recall that a fraction can also be written as a division problem. So you have 1/4 over 2 is the same as saying 1/4 divided by 2. 1/4 times 1 over 2. Remember, you keep, you change, and you flip. And remember that when we flip, it's because this 2 is over 1. All integers, all rational numbers are over 1. And then, since we're keeping and we're changing and flipping, we keep, we change to multiplication, and we flip. You see, it was 2 over 1, now it's 1 over 2. And you multiply numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator, and you get 1/8, just as we did up here. So, 1/4 divided by 2 is the same, or it's equal to 1/8. Example 2. Simplify 1 divided by a half. Again, we need to bring that half to a whole number. So half of a number, you need to multiply this value by 2 so that it can become a whole. And then you would do the same to the top, 1 times 2. And you're going to get 2 as an answer. If you need to slow down and pause and read these steps and read these blue steps, go ahead and do so. If you understand, let's continue. Okay, so here we have the got it question. If you understand how to do it, please pause now and complete these 4 questions. If not, and you're not quite sure, still pause, write down the questions, and then play again, and let's complete them together. Okay, I hope you paused your video and you are ready to continue. So 2 divided by 2/3 is the same as writing 2 over 1, right? This 2 right here is 2 over 1 divided by 2/3. Correct? Okay, we keep, we change, and we flip. Keep, change, flip. Now, when you're multiplying fractions, the first step in multiplying fractions is doing a cross-reference. So we reduce. We have a 2 here, and we have a 2 here. When I say cross-reference, it means you have to see if you have a like factor this way and a like factor in this direction. So now my new fractions look like this. 1 over 1 times 3 over 1. And when you multiply numerator with numerator, 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 1 is 1. So it's just simply, it's just simply 3 over 1, or simply 3. So the answer to A is 3. Okay, now let's try question B. Question B, here we have 6 over 1/3, or again, let's rewrite it as 6 divided by 1/3. Remember that 6 is a fraction if you put it over 1. So now let's keep, we keep this, we change, and we flip. So keep the 6 over 1, change the division to multiplication, and flip. And when you do so, you will get 6 times 3 across the top, right? You multiply across the top. 6 times 3 is 18, and 1 times 1 is 1. So it's simply 18. So really what you're saying is that 6 divided by 1/3 is 18. Okay? Let's work on C. 2/3 divided by 7. Let's rewrite it as a division question. 2/3 divided by 7. Let's keep. Let's keep. Let's change. Remember, this is 7 over 1. And let's flip 1 over 7. Can we do any cross-referencing when you multiply? No. So let's just multiply directly across. 2 times 1 is 2. And 3 times 7 is 21. Right? And that's our answer. 2 over 21. And then finally, let's go over to D. For D, we have 2 over 4, which is really a half. 2 over 4, which is 1 over 2, divided by 2 over 1. Right? This number over here, we just put it over 1. Let's keep 2 over 4. Let's change and flip. Keep, change, flip. Now that we have a multiplication problem, let's cross-reference. Do these two have common factors? And these two have common factors? These two have the common factor of 2. So let's cross it out Here you have 1, 2, and here you have another one. Okay, and these two do not reduce because this is a 1. So we just multiply straight across, and you get 1 times 1 equals 1 for your numerators, and 4 times 1 equals 4. So your answer is 1/4. I hope this is making sense. Let's go on to the next example. We're going to apply the same concept to a word problem. Josiah can run 1 1/3 miles in a quarter of an hour, in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. Okay, so let's write a rate that compares the number of miles to hours. So when we have 1 1/3 miles over 1 hour, okay, we can write it as a mixed number, 1 1/3 divided by 1/4. Now we cannot keep it as a mixed number, so that mixed number needs to be changed into an improper fraction. And the way you do that is you have your 1 1/3, okay? What you're supposed to do is you take the whole number and you multiply it by the numerator. You multiply it 1 times 3, and then you take that product and you add the numerator, okay? So you would add that. So what do we get here? We get 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So it becomes 4/3. And you can see that right there. That's how it became 4/3. Then you divide by 1/4, and then you keep, change, flip. Once you keep, change, flip, you multiply directly across. 4 times 4 is 16, 3 times 1 is 3, and you get 16/3. Now this is an improper fraction. You have to change this back to a mixed number. How many 3's are in 16? 5, right? 3 times 5 is 15, and then you have 1 left over. So you have 5 wholes and 1 left over, 5 1/3. And we can practice this more in class. Continuing. Example 4. Tia is painting her house. She paints 34.5 square feet in 3/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? Write a ratio that compares the number of square feet to hours. So we're going to write a ratio of 34.5 over 3/4. You can see it here, 34.5 over 3/4. And we write it as a division problem. Then we change the mixed number into an improper fraction. 34 times 2 plus 1. 34 times 2 is 68. Plus 1 is 69. So it's 69/2. Divided by 3/4. We keep, change, flip, or we use the reciprocal, the multiplicative inverse. And then we try to cross-reference. Over here, 69 and 3 go into each other 23 times. Right, so it's 23/1. And you can simply multiply. At this point, I would do it a little bit differently than what they did here. Okay? I would do 69/2 times 4/3, and when I cross-reference, I get a 1 here, and I cross-reference, and I get 23 here, right? Because I divided both by 3. And then I would change this into a 2, and this one into a 1, right? Because there's 1, 2 here, and 2 2's there. And now it's 23 times 2. You see how easy that was? And 23 times 2 is 46, as you can see right there. I'll teach you these methods in class, but you might have gotten it just from that example. So now let's try the got it questions. Moving down. Okay. Please pause, read these questions, and try them on your own. Then play the video to see my answers. Pause now. Okay, I hope you paused the video, and now we can try. Mr. Ito, I would say Mr. Ito is spreading mulch in his yard. He spreads 4 2/3 square yards in 2 hours. How many square yards can he mulch per hour? So let's take this amount and divide it by 2 so that we can get the value of 1. So again, we have, this is question E. We have 4 2/3 divided by 2. Let's change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So multiply the whole number times the denominator plus 2. So 4 times 3 plus 2. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14/3. divided by 2. And let's change that to a fraction, 2 over 1. Now we keep, we change, and we flip. Oh, we flip. Okay, now let's cross-reference. In the multiplication question, you cross-reference. And let's check these two. Both of these can be divided by 2 because they're both factors of 2 or multiples of 2. This becomes a 1, and this becomes 7. Now it's 7 times 1 equals 7. And the denominators, it's 3 times 1 equals 3. Let's change this improper fraction to a mixed number. How many 3's are in 7? 2, right? That would bring me up to 6. That means I have 1 left over to get to 7 over the next 3. So 2 1/3. Okay, so he would be able to cover 2 1/3. Therefore, he can cover 2 1/3 yards per hour. He can cover 2 1/3 yards per hour. Question F. Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Write her average speed in miles per hour. So let's write it down as 4.5 divided by 1.5. Let's change both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. We multiply and add. 4 times 2 plus 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9 over 2 divided by, again, 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 over 2. Let's keep, change, and flip. Now let's cross-reference because it's multiplication. Do I have any 2's here? Yes, I have 1 here and 1 here, so those can reduce to 1 each. So cross and 1, cross 1. And then I have 1 3 here and 3 of them in the 9, right? So now I can just multiply 3 times 1 is 3, and 1 times 1 at the bottom is 1, or just simply 3. Therefore, the question is, Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Find the average speed in miles per hour. Therefore, 3 miles per hour. Right? And for the last example, please go ahead and read through it. You'll see that it's very much like the other examples we've had, except now we're working with percents, right? Percentages. On Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3, so this is exactly 1/3 of 100%, of the players have scored a goal. Write 33 1/3 as a fraction in simplest form. Okay, so we're going to take 33 1/3 percent. This means per 100. When you see the value of the number percent, we're talking per 100. So out of 100 for every 100%. So you would write it as 33 1/3 over 100. Okay, and then you change it to a division question, right? And then you have to change the mixed number into an improper fraction. So 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 is 100. So you have 100 divided by 3, okay, or 100 over 3 divided by 100. You keep, change, flip. So this 100 is over 1. But when you change this, you have to flip this value, right? So you keep right here, then you change to multiplication, and you flip. And then you can cross-reference like we've done before. Cross-reference the 100s to 1 and 1. And then when you multiply 1 times 1 on the top and 3 times 1 on the bottom, you get 1 over 3. So about 1/3 of Javier's team has scored a goal. Okay. We have the guided practice. Please leave this guided practice for class. If you'd like to get ahead and just write down the questions so you're ready for class in the morning, you go ahead. Or I will give you a couple of minutes during class for you to write all these questions down so that we can complete them. See you in class, everyone.